Well, welcome to the 2025 Star Sports English Greyhound Derby Kennel Visits. We're kicking off with a very exciting one here in Ireland at the kennels of Liam Dowling. He's got a very interesting team this year, including defending champion Lahdedah and some very exciting young prospects. So let's go and meet the team. Very pleased to be here with Liam Dowling at the Ballymac Kennels. Liam, I think there's only one place to start, and that is last year with Lahdedah. How many years had you been coming over, and how did it feel to get that first win?
2013. I looked up at Ballymac Vic's photograph there a while ago. That's the first time we set out to go to Wimbledon, a good few years ago now. And it's just amazing when you think of it. Nowadays we go with 6 or 7 dogs. That time we had one dog and we went all the way to the final. Last year, look, I suppose it was fantastic. I'll never forget it anyway. But it was a long haul, but great dog. I thought he ran terribly well throughout, and we'll probably go again this year with him.
Going into it last year, did you sort of think of him as your best chance last year?
I didn't think so, Emily. Look, we knew he was a very decent greyhound, but I suppose Toasters is a track into itself, and it's not every dog will adapt to it. But I thought he did early days, and we could just give him one trial before the event started. And listen, he was lucky 1 or 2 nights that he got through, because there was a bit of trouble out the back, and I think it was the second or third round. He won the first 2 rounds, and the third round he was lucky to get qualifying, because he was a bad last down the back straight. But I just thought he ran the track terribly well, and I think if it's meant for you, it's meant for you, and we got there.
And of course he is going for the famous double. We're trying to do it again this year. Since the English Derby last year, I think he was knocked out in the 4th round of the Irish Derby, but he came back on the Consolation, won on the Winter Festival, so how is he now?
Yeah, he's good. Look, we took him to the Easter Cup again this year, and things didn't work out in the semi-final. He got himself, Kennel got into trouble at the first bend, and that was the finish of that, but that's history now. And he's in good form. I don't think he's any worse a dog, but I mean, you're going over now, you're taking on the young ones, so it's a tall order, but I think the lads are keen to go again, and why not? I mean, he knows the place, he has the experience of the place. It's probably a stronger dog, and I'm not sure if he's a slower dog. I can't say he is, but you have to adapt to conditions again and see the whole travelling event and all this stuff, but I think he's in good form.
And he's only 3.5. Just about, so that's not going against him at all, his age.
I don't believe it is. No, he's in great order. He's full of life. He did 27-18 a trial prep before we went to the Easter Cup. He's doing 17 30s and 40s and sprints, so he's telling me that he's still in good form. So I can't say you couldn't possibly leave him at home,
We're going to go through the rest of the team, but Lahdedah, he's already done it. Do you think he is your best chance this year? Well,
I suppose knowledge of the track, number one, and he has the age. You could never stick your head on the line there and say he's your best chance, but I suppose you have to go with last year's performance. And he adapted to the track, and he was lucky, and you were hoping for another bit of that to happen, but we're practical people, we know what can go wrong, but as of now, fingers crossed, everything's in order as regards him.
So the next dog is Ballymac Briar, who was 3rd in the juvenile at Shelbourne, has some very good times, including a 28-13 at Tralee. Can you tell us a bit about him?
Yeah, Ballymac Briar is owned by a parish priest here in Castellan, Father Mossy Brick. Lovely dog. Just coming back from a layoff there now, he got a bit of a small quirky injury there about 2 months ago, so we had him on the easy list, and we've just given it a re-qualifying trial last week. It won't be a struggle to get him fit, but I mean, he's got a month roughly, but he's all about early pace, really. He's all about early pace, and he won the Kingdom Derby in December in Tralee. He's a very fast dog again, but I mean, he has to be as fast as he is to take him over here. Will the trip suit him? The trip in Toasted, as everybody knows, is quite a strain. There's a good 500 metres with a good run to the pickup. But he's a good age dog, and he's good experience, and we don't know till we take him there, but he's a dog again that's well capable of running well there.
And you think he will suit Toaster with his early pace?
I think trapping is nearly more important in Toaster than anything else, because I mean, if you can land, he'd have the early pace of a lot of dogs, but it's just the initial trap. I think if you can get your body, I think the traps in Toaster are slightly closer together than they are in Ireland. But if you miss the kick in Toaster, you know, it's a good tight run to the bend, and you know, you could be out the back, and I'm not sure he's a dog that'll come from behind, so we're really depending on him to snap out and get away. So we'll give him a trial there. We'll see how he's going to come forward here in the next couple of weeks, and we'll give him a trial in Toaster and see how he adapts to that, and make a decision on him then, really.
So next is a very interesting bitch in Ballymac, Danica. I think she's always been on a lot of people's radar, but she's fairly lightly raced, fit stop and start. So how is she? I think she's been off for a while.
She's been off for a while, yeah. She's been off for a while with an injury, serious enough injury, but she's come back from that. But in the meantime, she's come in season, so she's. I think she's 7 or 8 weeks gone, which is going to be a struggling time for her. But at the same time, if you could get her there and get her to qualify, you know, for the first couple of rounds, you would expect improvement. But listen, she's a very classy bitch. I mean, you know, I think she broke the track record last year in the Kirby. She's as good a bitch as I put my hands on for a long time. But you know, you've got to come out and show that again. And she has early boots. She can stay. But it's just the one little thing that would be in my mind would be the season, if she can come to form quickly enough. But she's in good order. We'll probably give her a spin around through the weekend and see how she is. It won't be shortage of foot she has. I think myself. It's just the whole time factor with the season might catch up on her, but I can't really leave her at home.
Definitely not. She's got 27.83 around Limerick, as I was looking at it. Absolutely flying.
Yeah, she's a fantastic bitch, with a nice future. And you know, the one thing about this, if it doesn't work out for her over there, I think she's probably just going to come to form for the rest of the summer, which is in a way I was delighted to see her come this season when she did, because at least she's going to have the rest of the year now. So I'm looking forward to that, and. We'll see how the bit of work goes the weekend, and we'll push on from there. So, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
So the next dog is Ballymac Tibet. He's an August 23. He has 2 wins so far at Tralee and Limerick. But obviously quite a young type, but to be considered for the team, you must think quite a lot of him.
Yeah, he's owned by a syndicate of lads, including myself, Shane, and a group of friends, and he's a dog possibly that's going to run maybe over the distance, but he's a very, very pacey dog. We put him in the juvenile in Tralee. Won his first round, came from well off the pace, and I suppose going into these stakes you really don't know what you have until you put him through their paces. But we took him to the Kirby, ran terrible well the first night, got into a lot of trouble in the round after that, so he's made his exit out of that. So it's a case of, do you sit on the fence and wait for him to grow up for the Irish Derby, or you know, Toaster is probably a track. I think I could be totally wrong, and but it's a track I think that will suit him, and if he could get a couple of rounds under his belt, the distance won't be a factor. The stamina, you know, he's a dog full of stamina, and so. Yeah, he's a lovely dog. Maybe it's a bit of an ask for his age, but at the same time, you know, if he fails this year, there's always next year, if we're alive and well.
I'm sure he will be. He does look like one of those types, obviously very strong, that maybe could just keep qualifying through the rounds. Like last year, Ballymac Gizmo,
yes.
Could be one that sort of just keeps qualifying.
Yeah, he gives you that impression, doesn't he? I mean, Gizmo got through last year, although to find he was even enough dog again, but he's a dog probably that's gone over the distance since we sold him, and he's running well there. But this dog, I think, you know, he's a bright future. Lovely dog. What can I say about him? If he could get, it isn't that he's short of early pace, but you know, he's a slightly wide runner, which, you know, wide in Toaster is grand, but you have to stay wide. But I think he's a dog with a bright future, but you know, his lack of experience is the big problem going over there. We're taking on dogs obviously with maybe 20 races around, but you know, as far as I'm concerned, you've got to start somewhere. He's a dog that's well reared. His stamina is not an issue, and you need a bit of luck on your side. And again, with all these dogs, I suppose, going to the UK, we're still a month out or 5 weeks out, I think. So a lot can happen in the meantime. But if he has the form, if he holds his form, yeah, he'll be on the bus.
So you do have a few sort of young types that may or may not be going. That includes Ballymac Rapid, who is in August 23. Only had the 2 races so far, but firstly, bred out of Ballymac Ariel. I mean, how fast was she? Very, very good breeding.
Yeah, brilliant pitch again, you know. So I think this is her first litter. I can't be sure. I think this is her first litter. But look, he's a lovely fawn dog. Rapid. He's a dog that was in the juvenile in Chile. I think he was third the first night. He won the next night, 28.50. Picked up a little injury, and so we had to withdraw him from that particular competition. And he's only back maybe with the last 3 or 4 weeks. So we gave him a sprint in Tralee. I think he did 17.44, and we took him to Shelburne just to show him the place. Again, this is the long-term plan with him, just to get him through the pace and see can he figure on the team. But he did 18.67, which would be a very respectable run in Shelburne on their track surface there. So he's down to run Friday night, and I suppose, you know, we'll just have to watch him run and see how he goes. He's a promising pup, but again, he's quite young, but again, you have to start somewhere, and the fact that he had an injury, he had his little rest, so we'll see how it happens Friday night and make a decision on it.
That race he won in Tralee, very, very hot, so I guess whatever happens in the English Derby is promising type for the future anyway.
I would say so, Emily. He's a lovely compact dog. I think he's got a nice touch of early, but you know, Friday night will tell us that now, because he's in a 28.50 race with plenty of dogs with plenty of experience, and he's got to show where he's made of now. So, but you know, we'll judge him on that, and if he can come out and show his paces, and we're learning about him the same as everybody else, because he's just a young dog. So you know, he might surprise us and he might disappoint us, but you know, it's all about education and giving them their races. So we're delighted to get that race from the weekend, and we're just going to see what he's made of.
Another young type you have is Ballymac Jester, another one just in May 23. He has 2 wins already on his card at Tralee and Limerick, so looks another promising one.
Yeah, look, Jester, funny enough, there was debate about that dog here in the kennel for a long time, and I can't really say, but it took him a while to qualify as far as I know, and the lads were telling me that what was I holding on to this dog for, but I don't know, there was always something in that dog that I liked, and he's a beautifully well made dog, kind of an individual now that keeps himself and things like that, and you can't approach him that quickly, but how would I put it, there was something in him. I just seen him in a couple of trials that I thought he was a dog that probably wouldn't do a lot for a sprint, wouldn't do that, but every time he went to the track, I thought he showed a lot of guts, so you know, and so then we qualified him, and we lined him up in the juvenile, and got no run the first night. I think he was drawn 5 or 6. He got no run at all, and so he was out the first night, and we took him. We get a second race, and we took him out to Tralee. I think it was probably the final of the juvenile night, or that, and he was in a race. He was in trap 6, albeit it was in the 8-3 race, but that night he bombed out and showed lovely early. He won in 20 something or 30 something, and I thought he flew to the pickup. You know, I just thought he flew to the pickup, and I just thought there's a little bit of toaster about juice. So we stuck him in the Kirby, and the first night I'm not sure if he was second or third or something, and the last night he probably lacks a bit of early, and he's a middle to wide runner, and qualified. I think there was 4 to qualify the first night. He qualified, showed a nice bit of foot now, but the last night then he was drawn 5, got himself in a little bit of trouble at the bin, but you know, I thought he recovered quickly. He was line third, shot plenty of back straight pace, and won in 28.33. He's in a real hot quarter final, and but I think he's a dog with a future, and Torster distance won't face him anyway, I think myself, if everything lines up in that regard.
With all of the sort of young, lightly raced types, it's sort of unknown taking them to Toaster, but do you think it sort of makes them mature and grow up a little bit, so it helps them in that way?
Well, the way I look at that, whether they race at Ireland or in England, you know, they're going to have to grow up, and the more running they're doing, the more handling and strange tracks, strange surroundings. It's a learning curve for all of them, and I mean, it's been a learning curve over the last 3 or 4 months, but you know, sometimes my biggest fault is I wouldn't be patient enough with dogs, but I suppose as I grow older, and I'm growing older faster than I like, but at the same time, you learn a bit about a dog, and I feel that maturity, and I hear the horse boys at it a lot, and they're putting the horse away and things like that, but I just think you do need to get a dog to mature, and so this is maturing for them, and this is education for them, and the whole travelling experience, who knows who's going to travel, who's not going to travel, who's not going to kill up in Peter Hartman's, but you know, you got to try all these things to find out, so hence I think he's possibly going to be on that van, yeah.
So we have 3 more, again, young, lightly raced, but it could be on the team. The first is Ballymac Peb. Only had 1 race. He lost at 4 to 5 favourite, but there was a reason why he was that price in quite a good race. He looks good as well.
Yeah, well, you know, I suppose you get a list of dogs, and you have to, you know, when you're going for the UK, you have to just pick a team, because you don't know who's going to be right or wrong on the occasion. But he's a dog that's 1 race he ran last weekend in a sprint. Wouldn't be his distance, I think, myself, but I'm not saying he'll make the team, but you know, you have to give him due consideration, and he runs again this Saturday night in a sprint, but you know, it's just kind of match practice, and you know, the whole killing aspect of everything, but he's a dog with a future. Whether he can make it this time, I don't know, but we won't know finding out sitting below the Kennel, so we got to find out some way, so we'll give him his race Saturday night, see how it goes, and just make a decision on him then. But it wouldn't be, the van is filling up now at this stage, so and my body isn't as good as it used to be to handle that many dogs, but we'll see how he goes. We'll see how he goes.
Do you think he would stay sort of a strong?
Yes, there won't be an issue there, I think, yeah. I believe that, but I have no real proof of it, but I think he's a dog with a future, but maybe it might just come down a little bit early, but at the same time, who knows, and we got to put him through his paces and find out, and you know, get a couple of more races into him and see how he performs, but we'll make a judgment on him in the next 2 or 3 weeks and hope for the best.
The next one is Ballymac Ron. He's had 3 races so far and won 1. I don't think there's anything overly flashy on his card, but you obviously know more than me.
No, but again, he is one of the group, I suppose, that I like the dog, but he's probably ran, I mean, his first race in the sprint, and he came out 6 lengths behind, and that was in Tralee, and we were going to Limerick with Kirby dogs one night, and there was a race there, so he flashed out of Limerick. He was never around Limerick. He did 28.71, which was encouraging, you know, first look at it. And we took him back again, another sprint race in Tralee, and he did the very same thing. He came out 3 lengths behind him again. So it's hard to judge him right now. It's hard to judge him, but again, I had to put him down on the paper just to see where we are with him. So does he run this weekend? He does actually. He runs in Limerick in a competition there. So we'll know more about him. We're learning again about him, and he's a real good early pace dog, and I like him. He's really good early pace, and I think he's from a litter that seems to be getting the trip solid. So I'd still give him a squeak, you know. Yeah, he's thereabouts, but I suppose he's come to an age now that he's pretty well mature. He has 3 races under the belt, and excuses are going out the window, so we'll judge him this weekend really on that one, so we're looking forward to it.
So Liam, you won it last year after a good few years of trying. Does that make you want to win it more, or do you sort of feel like you've done it now?
I suppose it's just a bit of less pressure. You know, you talk about pressure. There was no pressure, because we enjoy the occasion every year we win, and it's a difficult task to take on. You're leaving all the lads here with, you know, there's probably 2 staff or whatever gone out of the place, and you're setting off over there for a period where you travel there and over, you know. But I mean, as the years get on and you get older, and possibly it's not the best thing for the dogs, so now we've set up camp with Peter, and we find that easier, and I think it's better for the dogs. So does it make it easier? Of course it makes it easier, because you've done what you always wanted to achieve, and less pressure. I still don't talk about pressure, but listen, it was a fantastic achievement, and to the whole team at Ballymac, it's not just me and my wife Helen and whatever. Everybody here has a big say in all that, and the wider team. I'm not going to name anybody, but the whole wider team. And this didn't start today or yesterday, as you can appreciate. So I suppose it says something at the end of the day that in 2013 there we set off with one dog, Ballymac Vic, and you're proud that you can take him to an English Derby, that you popped him down and you've reared him, and so every year after that you strive to, how would I put it, if you can produce pups that are capable of going. So I suppose it says something that you're still doing something right, and maybe getting it better, that you're able to probably treat 2, 3, 4 dogs into a van and head for the English Derby. So I suppose we always strive to improve ourselves and improve what goes on in the farm, and as regards breeding. So you're trying to pick the sires versus the dams, and you're trying to rear them as best you can, but you just say to yourself, well, you're doing something right, and then you always say that you're doing something wrong when a litter doesn't turn out. So you're probably juggling balls all the time, but I think we're doing okay. Could we do better? Of course we could do better. Everyone could do better, but I'm after going on an awful rant there about whatever question you asked me, but yes, we're delighted we did it last year.
And you want to do it again this year?
Of course you want to do it again this year. You're probably looking, the guys are looking at you around the place now, and they said, well, he's coming again or whatever, but listen, you get up in the morning and be it the Irish Derby, the English Derby, or any competition, you want to give it your best shot, and you don't want to say to yourself going to bed at night, I should have done this. So we'll try to throw up the I should, and we'll do what we possibly can. If we don't win it, we're going to enjoy it.
Now I want 2 dogs. Who do you think is your best chance this year? We might know who it is. And then one of the more sort of unexposed types that you think could go very well.
Well, I suppose everyone is expecting the Lahdedah, but again, people say, is he too old? He's taken on, you have to accept now that your dad would have top class dogs there, and a lot of the English would have the experience of that particular track and all that's under their belt. So to me, that is, you're at a disadvantage. But once you get a round or two into the Derby, the disadvantage is gone, because now you know that you're running out of excuses, so you have to take them on. Graham has gone over there with 3 or 4 dogs. He's probably carrying a dozen dogs, but as everyone knows, there was 3 or 4 dogs that he had last year, and it's going to take a hell of a dog to beat him. But again, the Derby is the Derby, and as long as I'm at it, I can see dogs every year. There's talking dogs and there's less talking dogs, but you have to put them in the box, walk away from it, and hope for the best. And so, for that reason, you go with the best prepared dogs you have and take your chances. And the Hennessy's will be going, all the Irish crew will be going, and I think this year is going to be a real classy Derby, because there's really good dogs from this side of the water, plus year-round dogs over. So it's never easy, but again, it'll come down to 6. It'll come down to 6, and then you've got to see.
And your best chances?
Sorry, my best chance is well, I'll have to stick on the Lahdedah, because for the simple reason that he's been there, done that, and he has knowledge of the track, and he's of the older generation, and the youngest dog, I genuinely can't say, but any of the dogs I've mentioned there, the dog that stays, the syndicate dog, what's his name? The pet dog is a good young dog coming, but he lack experience. Tibet is a dog that if he can qualify a round or 2, I think he'd figure it. And after that, I'll throw my name to Tibet.
Fair enough. And then finally, what are your plans to sort of trial, etc.? It is getting closer, although it's still 5 weeks away. So do you have any sort of plans coming up to go over and trial?
The plan at the minute is just, we have 3 or 4 going this weekend, so we're going to keep a closer eye on them. and myself and Helen were just looking at the boats and the last day of the trials, which I think is roughly the 28th. So we were just talking to Toaster office yesterday, and we'll be booking trials, just to probably get 1 4-bin trial into them. But obviously we've got to get them fitted this side of the water, so they're going through the motions. I think that's what's off is probably their work has obviously been stepped up a bit now, so we're going to give a couple of these trials over the weekend. The Lahdedah obviously he's got his 2 runs in the Easter Cup, so we're probably going to be keeping that dog a little fresher, because you know he's an older dog. He knows his way around Toaster, and with the younger dogs, Danica, again, as I keep repeating myself, is the season bit, so she's going to be slower coming to hand than anybody else. But we'll pick the final team, I suppose, in the next 2 to 3 weeks, and hopefully we'll get a handful going anyway.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for having me today, and we look forward to seeing you at Toaster.
It was a pleasure as usual, and thank you for coming in, and we might have a cup of tea.